Thanks for checking out Scotty's Hobbies. Today I'm working on my 2001 Chevy Tahoe with a 5.3 liter engine in it. I'm going to be replacing the spark plugs and the wires. While I'm doing that, I'm going to be checking the gap and properly torquing down the spark plugs at the end to make sure the job is done properly. While you're watching, make sure you look for links in the description below to purchase parts and tools needed. Basics, spark plugs, AC Delco only in a GM vehicle. If I'm wrong, let me know below in the comment section, but to my knowledge, AC Delco is the only thing that should be put in a GM vehicle engine. Like a Honda or Toyota would be NGK, or a Ford would be Motorcraft. AC Delco goes with GM. Because I like MSD, I got the MSD wire set. More so because it's one of my preferences, and I really like it. So it came with a bent spark plug wire that is going to be installed on the passenger rear spark plug right under the AC condenser. Sorry, under the AC accumulator, and it is a pain in the butt to get to. So one of the benefits of the MSD set is the bent spark plug. You will need a basic mechanics tool set, spark plug sockets, and torque wrenches while we're all said and done, or when we're all said and done, as well as spark plug wire puller pliers, and everything can be found in the links in the description below to purchase anything that you need. If you have questions, please feel free to ask away in the comment section below. As you can see, we're already getting started on this vehicle. While you're watching, tell everybody about me, please. If you know somebody taking care of their own vehicle, tell them about me. Let's get going on this. You can see we've already got started on this job using that 5/8 spark plug socket and a 6-inch extension on a 3-inch drive ratchet. We're going to remove the number 7 spark plug. I like to start with the hardest first, well, the hardest on each side first. I already mentioned on the passenger side, the number 8 spark plug is really hard to get to. It's under the AC components right there with a little heat shield and all that. So that one's even harder than this one. But on the 1357 side of the motor, number 7, I think is your hardest. I tried a couple different tools or sockets to find the easiest way to get this spark plug out for you guys. But you can see it just took getting in there, being limber, and ratcheting more so on the bottom side of the steering column than trying to go around it. It made it a little bit easier. Don't forget you could buy the socket I'm using to remove these spark plugs in the description below. There will be a link in there for you to click on it and buy them. Pretty useful. They got little magnetic holders in them so you don't drop your spark plug. When I pull out my spark plugs on every single one, I try to read the spark plug or check and see if there's something going on in the engine that I could anticipate or plan for by reading the spark plugs. Always check the gap, make sure my gap is not over excessive. You can see the gap on my spark plug is pretty darn good, and the wear on the spark plug is pretty darn good as well. I excessively change my spark plugs. I like to keep spark plugs good in my engines. Something I do at work as well, so I keep doing it on mine. As I install my spark plugs on each one, I always double check the gap from factory. They say that they're pre-gapped, but you never know if it's been dropped, how they've been handled. There's always variables that could change the gap in a brand new spark plug. So I always double check it. Sometimes I open it up a little bit more, change it as needed. To install spark plugs, I like to use a little, I believe a 3/8 hose. That's about a 5-inch section of it. And I'll use that to extend into the spark plug hole, get the thread started, so I don't strip it out before I start tightening down the spark plug. Now that the spark plug is nice and tight using the hose, I'm going to grab my torque wrench and torque down the spark plug. I do not use a anti-seize lubricant on my spark plugs because I do torque down my spark plugs. When you use an anti-seize lubricant or something as such, that does change torque specifications on what the torque value is going to be or is when you set it. Something I learned after doing this job is it might be better to do a beam style or use a beam style torque wrench to get this job done so that last click doesn't ruin the threads. So something you might learn in this one, instead of buying a click style torque wrench like this, a beam style torque wrench might be better in this case, or it might suit your needs better all the way around now that I'm looking more into it. I will have some videos coming out about those and the difference between the beam torque wrench and the click torque wrench. When installing new electrical components on my vehicles, especially in the ignition system, I like to use dielectric grease pretty liberally. One, it makes a better connection for the electricity to jump across and not have like a gap of air. It has a solid to be able to travel across. And also it keeps water out. So if the water was to get under the hood or up into the engine compartment, it's not going to get into the valleys or some of the little holes that would be left in the spark plug boots. So it might make something last longer. Just doing a better all the way around job, I feel like, to get this job done properly. So something I do use, dielectric grease. There will be a link in the description below to purchase that as well. You can see it's nice having these nice little skinny long arms to be able to get in these tight little spots. I wouldn't really recommend using the spark plug pliers to install the spark plug wires. You might damage them. While we move on to the number 5 cylinder, let's go over what we're looking for when we are removing the spark plugs or double checking them. You can see, well, first I'm using my little spark plug wires to grab this wire and pull it right off of the spark plug. The pullers or the pliers make it way easier to get them off, and you don't leave the boot on the spark plug. You're able to grab the boot, pull right up, and unclick it. I'm going to go over in detail a little bit more on this longer video, or because it's a longer video, of each little portion of the installation process as we go. So stay tuned through the whole thing, and make sure you like, subscribe, and share. If you know somebody with a 5.3 or 4.8 engine that's going to vary from the late 90s all the way to, I don't know, 2012-ish, 2015-ish, probably now, which is 2021. These V8s are very similar. The torque specifications might change a little bit, but they're all very similar. Using that 5/8 spark plug socket with the magnetic holder inside and a 3-inch extension, I'm able to remove this spark plug pretty easily. When we do remove it, you can see I'm going to check the gap. I'm going to check the wear on this spark plug. If it was abnormal, let's say it was black, dry, fluffy, and it's got a bunch of buildup on it, that would be a carbon fouled plug. In that case, I don't have it in this one, but if you do have that, a carbon fouled plug, you're looking at a very rich condition, maybe a dirty air filter, so it's gasping for air. Also, if you're not driving on the freeway, or if you don't get the thing up to speed normally, it's like a grocery getter where you're only driving the vehicle maybe 20 miles a month. I actually have one of those, so on those I change the spark plugs a lot more, and I still have a ton of buildup on them. But if you have carbon buildup, one sign is dirty air filter, another is not driving it enough, another is bad fuel. If you're using poor fuel, you'll also get buildup. What is a remedy, or some remedies for that? That would be to switch to a hotter spark plug, such as a, well, in this case, we're already using platinum. Maybe if you went up to a laser iridium, which also I think is factory on this, you might be able to solve some of that. But hopefully you don't need the hotter spark plug. And another remedy, just drive the darn thing. Put some more miles on it. Loan it out, or hey, maybe you don't even need a car in this situation. It might be cheaper to own one. Sorry, it might be cheaper to rent one, so you don't have to pay for the insurance and what is it called, the registration. Depending on where you're at. If you're in California, it might not be worth it for you. Number 5, properly torque down using the dielectric grease to install the spark plug wire. Let's move on to number 3, spark plug. That one came off pretty easily. These are factory wires, believe it or not. I like to change my spark plugs, but for some reason I don't change my wires too often. I had to change a couple on a trip not too long ago because they were arcing, giving me a misfire. I should have changed them then, But I don't know why I decided to neglect these wires so much. When I did replace them, like I said, these MSD wires were a great upgrade, I feel like. And I just love MSD parts and components. To get you a better shot, I removed this plate for the battery and the alternator. And make sure you're disconnected at your battery before you do this in case you accidentally touch the positive wire using your wrench or whatnot, so you don't ground it out and cause yourself some nice little fireworks under the hood. I did move it more so to give you a better view, but it might make it a little bit easier for you to remove it as well. So you can see I did remove that plate right there. Removing the number 3 spark plug, pretty easy. There's nothing really in its way. I think this one and on the other side, your number 4 spark plug would be very similar. So pretty easy on both of these. Again, we're going to remove it, see if there's any signs of abnormal wear or if there's anything that we could tell that's going on in the engine. Let's say this one was wet, it was black, oily, it didn't look right, and it's really moist looking and black. That would be an oil-fouled spark plug. In this case, you have oil leaking into the combustion cylinder or the combustion process, which can be leaked by through the cylinders, the rings on the cylinders that is, or maybe you have a bad valve guide seal letting oil come in through the valve. So on that case, maybe a thicker oil might be able to help you, but you might have some more damage going on. Make sure the PCV valve is good in that case as well. If a bad PCV valve is going, or if you have a bad PCV valve where it's stuck shut, it's going to cause oil to find any leak on the engine because it's going to crankcase vapors to enter the intake system and be burnt through the combustion process again. So a bad PCV can cause a lot of problems. You can see dielectric grease on every spark plug wire pretty liberally, like I said. I'm not sure if you could use too much of that. If you can, make sure you comment below and let me know why. But I like dielectric grease. Moving on to our number 1 cylinder. Again, trying to get you the best view I can by moving this bracket around. Everything is disconnected, so I'm not going to shock myself or cause a nice little 4th of July party under my hood. But I believe it's off just to give you a better view. You could probably shimmy around this. One less tool you'll need. Using the straight spark plug wire pliers, I don't think benefited me too much in the situation to get these or this spark plug wire off. So I wouldn't really recommend getting it. The regular pliers I'm using work just fine. It's ended up taking me a little bit longer than I thought to get this job done. The driver's side here took me about an hour, hour and a half to get everything done, figuring out how I'm going to shimmy in there or what sockets I'm going to use. So far, I've used a 5/8 magnetic spark plug socket, a few 3/8 extensions, the 3-inch and a 6-inch, a 3/8 palm ratchet, the spark plug tool to measure, or the spark plug gapper tool, I should say. And what else have I used? The spark plug wire removal pliers have been used. And I think that's it. Maybe more. But there's a list in the description below to purchase the tools and parts so far. Stay tuned. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. I'll have another video covering the passenger side coming up shortly. So make sure you check out my my video library to find other videos that will be helpful in your DIY maintenance procedures. Hopefully you'll stay tuned and cover the passenger side with me. Please like, subscribe, and share. Let's get going on this next video.